say like women. You know, I think women having guns.
Get rid of women.
No. Women having guns to protect themselves is a necessity.
Yeah. Or anybody, like it equalizes, right? Like I'm a small guy.
If you get rid of guns,
that's 6 foot 3.
You got to get rid of
300 pound 17-year-old. Yeah. So, but I think I don't know if you get rid of violence, because sometimes you got to punch a motherfucker in the face.
What up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your local favorite barbershop style podcast. I'm Tavares Ferguson, joined my co-host Buff and Rozzy. Fellas, you know what to do.
Well, the Jonathan Majors trial is upon us. Today was opening arguments, and they closed the day without even selecting a jury. But one thing that they did get is the judge approved them to keep all evidence that may be damning to Jonathan Majors' character closed until they actually get into the trial. Their excuse was that they said that they wouldn't be able to seat a jury if it became public or whatever. So they did closed sessions before jury selection to figure out what could be presented or not. So that's all we have right now. We're recording on Wednesday, the 29th. So the first day of the trial. So we'll revisit this next week, I'm sure. I don't think this is going to be a quick trial, so we'll probably be reporting on this for the next couple of weeks, but we'll try to keep you guys as updated as possible on that. But speaking of movie stars and movie actors and movies out there, I just shared with you guys the trailer for the Harry Potter for Black people. It's called the American Society of Magical Negroes. And so it's coming out next March. And so for the potheads out there, for the satirists out there. So the premise of this is, if you guys have ever looked at shows like The Legend of Bagger Vance, or what they call the Magical Negro, is the trope there where Black people are there just to let the white person or white character advance, and they're there to help them out and that type of thing. And so this society, it's kind of a satire on that. They're recruiting a Black kid to come in and be one of these magical Negroes. So it looks really funny to me. The teaser trailer was the only thing that came out, but I think I'm kind of excited for it. My buddy, he was in Dungeons and Dragons. You guys may not have watched that movie, but the Black kid that played the wizard in Dungeons and Dragons, he's going to be the main character in it. So I'm all here for it. He was also in, what was the rap show on Netflix that got canceled from the 80s? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? The Get Down. So yeah, he was the main character in the Get Down. So yeah, it's gonna be good, man. So I'm excited for it. We'll see how it all shakes out. But that's all I really got, man.
All right, cool. So last week,
is it a real movie?
Yeah, it's a real movie.
What is it going to be on?
It's releasing in theaters. So, it's a March movie, so it's not supposed to be a big summer blockbuster or anything like that. It's one of those type movies. So it's lower budgeted and everything. It's not going to be a Harry Potter. It really is a satire on that. So think of, I don't know if you guys ever watched League of Extraordinary Gentlemen back in the day, that type of movie. It's going to be a little bit kind of like that.
Well, but not to cut you, steal your thunder or anything, but Rise, I'm finally happy that you said extraordinary, because you used to say extraordinary and it used to piss me off. But continue, bro.
It depends on in what context I'm using
it. So sometimes you're just calling someone ordinary and they're extraordinary, and then sometimes you're calling them extraordinary.
No, that's just ordinary. You can't. Yeah. So maybe how more ordinary can you be than ordinary?
Maybe you could just say really ordinary.
Yeah. Well, we used to call it the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And I was like, no. Yes, you did. Yes, I used to get. You don't remember us having this conversation?
I think so.
I was like, dude, don't say that anymore.
In Afghanistan, I think we had that conversation.
It's like, dude, you can't be extraordinary. Like that's just ordinary.
You can, man. You can.
So last week when we came back, we had been gone for 2 weeks, and we were doing our best to mention everything that happened. But one thing I forgot to mention was our classmate. It was Krishana Hunt. I think it's Krishana Granger now, but she leads the Alabama A&M dance team, and they were the first HBCU to lead, not the first HBCU to march, but the first HBCU to lead the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. And I just want to give her and her team a huge shout out. I forgot to mention that last week, but that was very cool to
throw some applause in there, Rozzy.
Yeah,
Yep,
definitely deserved.
Round of applause. Let me see that hand clap.
Not that. I'm gonna do that one. Not that kind. Just a regular applause, man.
That's an extraordinary applause, sir. We just need some extraordinary applause, sir.
I was sharing my Christmas list with somebody, and they was like, "Oh man, there's some good stuff on here." And then he was like, "But explain Players Ball." So just like we had to let y'all know that Space Age Pimpin' is indeed a romantic song.
It is a romantic song.
Players Ball is a Christmas song. I don't know how many. I think people are unaware of that it's a LaFace Records, one of the Christmas album. That's what Outkast submitted. The very first line is "It's beginning to look a lot like," and the Christmas is mentioned throughout the song.
Follow my every step.
So it's a Christmas song. It's a Christmas song from the hood, but it's a Christmas song. So
there is Christmas in the hood.
What a lot of folks don't understand or know is that the Players Ball was a Christmas event for the players. Like that's what they did. Yeah. And so
it happened on Christmas Day.
It became a Christmas song. Yeah. It's almost like Die Hard happening on Christmas.
You know, I
had him. He was into it too. He was like, yeah.
Yeah, you got to suck him in. It's just one of the greats. Like, you know, it's Elf.
I just have never seen a Christmas movie fight so hard to prove that it's a Christmas movie. I just have never seen that. But okay, whatever. But on a more serious tip, talking about Players Ball, but I want to transition to this show. We frequently talk about mental health, and I say, you know, for the most part, I still don't think we have made the progress that we think we have in that regard on how important it is and how serious it can be. So Florida teen earlier this year by the name of Brendan Deepa, I believe. He's a 6'6", 270 pound, 17-year-old that was in high school. He was originally in a special school, but the funding for that school got cut, and it wound up closing down because the residents did not approve a property tax. So that school wound up getting closing down, transitioned to a regular school. So he no longer has the one-on-one and, you know, all the things that a special needs school would have for him. He's had several incidents over and over and over. He wound up attacking a teacher, knocking her unconscious. Like he flung her in the air and started beating on her and stuff. And now he's facing 30 years. And yes, he deserves to be punished. But my argument is he never should have been in that position. That teacher never should have been in that position in the first place. He did not belong in that type of school. He needed a school that could specifically address his needs. He was raised in a foster home. He was abused as a kid. He had like 4 incidents leading up to this one. And even in one of the videos when he's getting arrested, he's literally like, he said it like, am I going to jail? Like he just beat this teacher unconscious and he's asking the police, am I going? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, for how long? I don't really want to go to jail. Like he clearly is not a normal kid, but he should not have even been in that situation. And he's one of the many people that fall through the cracks because we, once again, do not treat mental health as serious as we should. And I say that because the comments on the video were just so sickening. Understandable, what he did was brutal. I don't want to take away from that. But how people fail to realize that he never should have been in that position in the first place, and that he does need help, and that he does need to be thrown in jail for 30 years with real killers and grown men. We have a long ways to go on mental health. I just want to put that out there.
I don't know if you mentioned it. Can you describe him again?
6'6", 270 pounds, 17-year-old in Florida. Brendan Deepa.
Black. White.
Black.
Okay.
Yeah, black.
Okay.
I left that part out. Yeah, black kid. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Black kid.
But we can have people shoot up churches and shoot up schools, and we want to cry mental health, and but that's neither here or there.
Not for him though.
Yeah.
And
that's legitimately like, hey, this dude has mental health issues.
And one last thing on his report, it said one of the things that triggered him is snatching things from him. And apparently one of the teachers, because it's been cleared up, the teacher he attacked, people thought that she was the one that snatched his Nintendo Switch. She said, for the record, I didn't snatch his Nintendo. It was a different teacher. But
he was triggered.
Yeah, in his report, it's do not snatch from him. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and so there's documentation that he has mental health issues.
Yes.
Yet and still, when, we try to make allowances or rationalize other people possibly having mental health issues when other things happen. I'm trying to be subtle with it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more subtle I could be. So I don't have a lot. One of the things I do want to go on is, I don't know if you guys have seen The Changeling on Apple TV.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're on episode.
Oh, it's a show. I'm thinking about a movie.
Yeah, it's fairly new, right?
Yeah, it's fairly new.
I think it's like last year,
Lakeith Stanfield.
in the last year.
Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Disregard.
It's on Apple TV. It's a pretty interesting movie. I mean, show. It's a take on. It's like a horror suspense. Essentially, Lakeith falls in love with this young lady. They have a baby, and it just goes downhill from there. Think witches, demonic craziness. It's very interesting. It's a head scratcher sometimes. You definitely don't see what's coming around the corner. But I think it's a good watch if you guys are looking for something just unique to watch. And Z and I have stayed up the last couple of nights.
Check it out. I got my free Apple TV till like December 12th or something like that.
Okay. Well, I do Apollo TV. Shout out for Apollo TV. It's a streaming service. You actually pay for it, but it's like 6 months for maybe $70, and they have it's like, what was the first streaming service where they jailbroke it that everybody used to have back in the day?
You talk about Kodi.
Yeah, so it's like
Kodi or whatever.
It's like Kodi, but you're paying for it, so it's like the streams are legit. It's once you put on whatever, it's there. The movies come out a lot earlier, and then a lot of times it might be stuff that's already out on different streaming services, but it's a one-stop shop for the streaming service. So things that I can't watch on HBO Max, I'm watching on on Apollo. The Apple TV stuff is on Apollo as well. So, and I think you can stream up to six or seven devices. So it's been pretty good so far. With that being said, is Sophia asleep?
She isn't, but since I'm still COVID-y, she can't come in. But I do have a joke today. I went ahead and prepped one for you guys.
Lucky us.
Yay. All right. What do you call a cold canine? A chili dog.
That was so easy. I can't believe we didn't get that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I was something not a hot dog. Something not a hot dog.
And now I wouldn't mind a chili dog. How about that?
Wow, this house is cute. But can I really get in the game in this economy? I do have savings, and I am responsible-ish. Ugh, I should bury it. I'm being wild. But what if I'm not being wild, though? Could I actually score a...
Kick off your home buying journey with Zillow's new BuyAbility tool. It makes it easy to find out what you can afford, so you can get off the bench and onto the playing field with confidence. Check your BuyAbility, only on Zillow.
Saturday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Saturday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
They are delicious.
Yeah.
TJ would agree with you. He's a Sonic fan, so because Sonic apparently likes chili dogs.
Yeah, that's his thing.
Like Jasmine, and like Jasmine says, it has to have onions.
Yeah, they are better with onions, and I don't even like onions for real. So yeah, that's one of the few things I will get onions on.
Well, I'm allergic to onions, so I'll die. So I'm just going to take
We
your
don't
word for
want
it.
that. But I don't know who asked first question, but political nerds, Henry Kissinger just passed away, so don't know enough about him to know if he was great or bad, but rest in peace.
I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out in the next few days.
yeah, exactly.
That is your thing.
Rest in peace.
Somebody didn't go last week. Who didn't go last week?
Rossi.
Me, I didn't, so I can go.
Okay.
And I know we've talked about it a little bit, but it's been a while. And I don't know if you guys saw Ric Flair on Club Shay Shay. And if any of the listeners did not see it and you like wrestling, go check that out. It was a very, very good interview. It was really entertaining. Gave you a lot of backstory on just wrestling in general. I didn't know that Shannon Sharp was such a wrestling fan, but like he was bringing out obscure wrestlers that I didn't know anything about. And so I was like, wow, he really likes wrestling, or he really, really prepped for the interview. One or the other. But from the sounds of it, I think he really did know a lot of this, what was going on, especially in early wrestling days when they were really localized.
So he liked wrestling.
He liked wrestling. Yeah, old school. So, but with that being said, Ric Flair gave his Mount Rushmore. So I don't know if you guys remember what they were. I'll let you guys know. But it was Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, and Stone Cold. That is Ric Flair's Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. And we're all wrestling fans here. I think we had the Mount Rushmore of finishing moves, but I don't think we ever have done Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. So want to get the brothers Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
He also said Shawn Michaels was the GOAT as far as in the ring wrestling.
Yeah.
I think we may have did our favorite four, maybe our favorite five. I don't know if we did like Mount Rushmore. I don't know.
Are we?
Okay.
I don't know. Are we talking about the greatest or our favorites?
Because that's a different list for me.
So the Rushmore.
Okay.
Yeah, the Rushmore. So and I think that's exactly what we did. Is what was our favorites, but the actual Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
See, because my Mount Rushmore is not necessarily my favorites, but I was surprised. I think he was just being humble. I was surprised Nature Boy didn't name himself, but I think so. Just real quick, my criteria for being on Mount Rushmore, because wrestling is largely considered a silly sport. Like, anytime you tell somebody you watch wrestling, it's fake, right? So it's one of those sports that you just really have to love and just enjoy. And anytime you have a wrestler come along that transcends to like the casual fan, to the person that doesn't even watch wrestling, but they know who that wrestler is, then they need to be considered. So for that, you got to have Ric Flair on there. Ric Flair, you have to have Hulk Hogan, even though he called us niggas, but you got to have Hulk Hogan on there. The next two are a little bit, I think it's just preference, because I think a younger generation would probably say John Cena belongs on there, but he's not on mine. So Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, and then is it The Rock or The Undertaker? Is it, because if you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, The Rock's career like his peak career, is relatively short because he was like Rocky Maivia, a part of the nation at first. He wasn't that popular. He didn't have his catchphrases yet. Mm-hmm. He didn't get his catchphrases until he separated from them, got a little more chiseled. Because I ain't gonna say he was flabby, but he wasn't The Rock. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go Undertaker. It's hard for me to say Undertaker because I don't remember. You think about somebody like my mom who never watched wrestling. I don't think she would have known who the Undertaker was. She definitely could have told you who Hulk Hogan was. Not sure about Ric Flair. She probably would have said Andre the Giant or something like that. But I don't know if the casual non-watching wrestling fan could say Undertaker. But I think I'll put him there. But I'm not mad if somebody puts The Rock there. So Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Yeah. My bad. I had a shiver. Like I just got a shiver. Like it just came out of nowhere.
So
and that list is far from my favorite four, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
Right.
So my list, you gotta go Hulk Hogan. To me, Hulk Hogan is wrestling.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah.
So much to the fact that I think that time period, he overshadowed Ric Flair for me. So that's why Ric Flair is staying off my list.
I can't be mad at that. Yeah.
Ric Flair was almost like the B list, and no disrespect to the Nature Boy. At that time, when there's only be one man at the top, he was the John Stark, the freaking Karl Malone, great, but there's only one Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like when he came to, he was a Clyde Drexler of wrestling at the time.
That's a good one. Right? That's a good one right there.
Like you know, if we were picking like we playing basketball, I'm Michael Jordan's like. I'll be Clyde the Glide then. You know, like you just, if you got first pick, you're Michael Jordan. Like it's not even, who are we? If you get first pick, it's already, okay, Byron get first pick, so he's Jordan, so I'm going to be, you know. And then I think by that time, Ric Flair, he was a little older, you know. My second, just because of his energy and his personality, Macho Man.
Just because, okay, all right.
Just because
I think his proximity to Hulk Hogan helps out his popularity too, because you know he would tag team a lot.
Yeah, but he was just he was a character. Yeah. Like he was the first real larger than life. You know what I'm saying, brother? Like he just, his whole personality, not my favorite, and he came kind of out the blue when I was talking about thinking of this list. But he was just that flying elbow. He was kind of undersized. It was just something about him that was hard to root against. Like he was a macho man. You know what I'm saying? Then, you know, I'm going to go with Stone Cold. I think Stone Cold was part of an era.
Attitude.
Like that attitude era, he was the persona. And for this almost probably the same reason Macho Man is on my list, I gotta put The Rock on my list. Because to me, those are the two greatest time periods in wrestling in my lifetime. And they had this frenemy relationship. Like there was a mutual respect, but you know, Hogan and Macho Man were partners, but they beefed a little bit. Like it was, and then it just went out into all off beef. Stone Cold and freaking The Rock, some of the best, not necessarily just matches, but some of the best just
their microphone skills were
their microphone skills just
top tier.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you talking about Rock wasn't, maybe he was short lived. The people's elbow, the people's eyebrow. What's your name? It doesn't matter. Like, I've never seen anybody with outside of those two have so many catchphrases that it became part of popular culture, right? It was everybody. It doesn't matter because Stone Cold said so. Like, that's it. Austin 316 was a thing. Like, that was a whole movement. I love the Taker. I want to put the Taker on my list, and he was cool if you were a wrestling fan. I'm talking about what these people did for the industry. You know, Macho Man helped propel Hulk Hogan to greatness with their rivalries and all that stuff and their friendships and Queen Elizabeth. It was just so much around that whole Macho Man. Definitely not my favorites, but I will give it to those four.
It's a good list, man.
Yeah,
That's
that's the beauty of these Mount Rushmores, right? Like you can make the case. There's probably 8 or 10 that could go on the list. I was just thinking
we need like a top 10, really, like a college football ranking.
Yeah,
because at any point, any of them would make sense. Like, and so it really comes down to what's your argument behind it.
There are some long answers though, like, and that's why I'm waiting on you to say your list, Razzie. I'm just hoping you and you like.
I'm probably gonna have one of them.
You pull somebody left field like the 1, 2, 3 kid. I didn't even expect.
The only same one me and Ferg had was Hulk Hogan, right?
Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold.
Okay.
It's Stone Cold, yeah. So mine is a little bit of a blend of both of you guys, actually. And so you guys said everything about Hulk Hogan. He has to go on there, right? He is wrestling. Like him, indifferent, whatever. He was wrestling. But then what I look at a lot of times is who elevated the sport, the genre, who did something to kind of expand, get people to kind of watch it, and so. The Rock and Stone Cold I put on there together because that Attitude Era, the expansion of people watching because of that. So I put both of them on there.
You didn't even look at it wasn't even about the matches. It's just what was going to happen with those two. When you heard that glass breaking, like there was something, you knew all hell was about to break loose. So that's 2 and 3, right? You're not trying to put them together. You're not trying to sneak them in.
No, that's what I was wondering too. I was wondering that too.
I got both of them on there.
No, you can't do that. You know.
No, I can't do that. So yeah, both of them. And the fourth actually is the left field one that you talk about, Ferg, but it's Triple H.
I knew you were going to say the game, and I'm surprised you didn't say the game, Buff.
Oh yeah. For those that don't know, I used to be the game at work at sales. We'll pour water and spit it out in the parking lot.
With customers. Yeah, he worked there, guys.
I'm working. There. I'm on the clock. Go ahead, Rossy. My bad, man.
But not just that, though. But like, yes, his persona, his character, and everything. But I think he drove a lot of that Attitude Era, and then the eras after that. So he was still there when Stone Cold and The Rock left. He had to take on that mantle, right? Become the champ for a while, did all of that, but then he went into the front office and did a lot where you talk about driving a lot of the storylines, keeping wrestling afloat. So he did a lot of that where when Vince McMahon and even Stephanie, right? He married Stephanie, and so he's kind of running everything. He's playing both sides, and so I really feel like Triple H kept wrestling together so that it could have this resurgence that it's having today with a lot of the John Cenas and the folks that are kind of wrestling today and everything. I think he held it together for a long time by himself, and had to do that. And so I'm giving Triple H, his flowers on that.
I will accept that. I'm glad you explained it because, when I think of him, I think of him as, oh my God, I think of him part as a DX, so it was more so not him standing on his own, and I'll never forget he was Hurst Helmsley. So that's always hard to, he's like, it's just like you said, Rock was Rocky Maivia, Okay, I can say.
But yeah, like he was DX, right? He was the front man for DX. And, you had Diesel there, you had, Heartbreak Kid, and, like it was a trio there. But at the same time, I felt like he was kind of that big, overbearing.
You mean X-Pac, not Diesel in DX.
He said 1, 2, 3 kid.
No, Kevin Nash was in DX.
You're thinking of NWO.
Yeah, you think about NWO.
New world. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but he drove DX though, and so and it was China in there too, right? Like, so yeah, it was kind of that
tragic
group. Yeah, man.
Yes.
So that was it, man. I wanted to take a trip down lane.
Yeah, one day we're gonna have to do tag teams one day. Let's let that be a question one day. Good question.
I mean,
all them heat, baby.
Good question.
Yeah, maybe we're all gonna get.
I almost said Booker T too.
Hey, man.
So
as far as a solo
there,
black,
right?
yeah, solo black wrestler,
yeah. But I mean, we're all gonna. The Road Warriors, LOD. You know, like that's automatic. Like that's the Hulk Hogan of, just so we won't have to wait. You know.
I mean, you got the Rockers too, though. Like
didn't last long enough.
I will put the Steiner brothers over the Rockers.
Bushwhackers. Yeah.
So.
Oh, are we doing this now? We going down?
Just throwing some days out there,
Just saying.
New Age Outlaws grew on me too. I hated them at first.
You talking about with Billy Gunn?
Yeah. I'm an ass man. He really came. I'm an ass man.
Oh God, they were so.
Yeah, they grew on me, boy.
Oh man. All right, Latino Heat. Just going. Let's go. Who's the next?
It could be you or I. It doesn't matter. I don't have.
Well, I'm going to cheat then. So today is Wednesday, 28? November 29th, 2023 in the year of our Lord. And we had a post today, and we got a lot of different answers. And I really want to ask the question, and then I'm gonna go a little deeper. Bear with me. So the post today, it says, if you could eliminate one thing from the world, what would it be? So I want you guys to give me your answer, and it could be one of the answers you saw on the group or the thread, but also want you, and why, but also want you to think about when they say be careful what you wish for, because some of these things really sound great in theory, but and I hate to be that guy that sounds like, but sometimes there's the necessary evils and necessary things that play that out and what does the world really look like, right? And so let's go.
I actually, it's funny you said that, because I actually thought about that when I read some of the answers. I'm like, what's the what's the flip side of that? But my answer was social media. I think social media has done a lot of good, but I think in general we'd be better off without it. And one of the answers I saw on the thread that I really liked was cancer. And that's because it's personal. I lost both parents to that. And it's something that, I really wish we could find a cure for. So I thought that was a great answer that I saw on the thread. But my answer was social media.
Okay. Was there any answers that you just completely disagreed with?
Let me let Rozzy answer.
It's because your answer might be Rozzy's answer might be one that you completely disagree with.
I briefly saw one that said something about fake white privilege, and I didn't even hold on.
Okay. We'll go there.
I that's crazy. I've been so busy today. I haven't even looked at it, and so I didn't even see the post, so I haven't even had a chance to look at it. So for me, that's a difficult one, because like you said, when you start thinking through what that means, you really got to think about what the opposite of that is, right? Like when you take it away, what does that really do for America, for you, our people in general? I would say I'd take away countries. Like, I would want a single world government there. So NWO, baby, New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of what we do away with a lot of war that way. If we could have a single government. That the problem is everybody going to agree to it? I don't know. We'd have
the answer's no.
We'd have people. So, but I think when you talk about if we could have a single government, that cuts down on what we can actually war about and have wars about, right? Like, if we as a country came together and said, or as a world and said, here are our governing laws or whatever, and do it, I don't know, maybe like, and that's what the United Nations was supposed to be, right? Is, hey, this is world overarching, here's the baseline that everybody got to go with, and then your country or your state or whatever can do something, on top of that type of thing. But I do think we need to get to where we have a single kind of stop looking at countries, so that you don't have, if there is a war in the Middle East, people aren't like, oh, well, they can't come over here, right? And they're not going to drain us, because it's no different. Those arbitrary boundaries that we've created go away. And so now we are all looking at each other as one people, and we can kind of figure it out from there, right? So that's where I'd go with it. And, again, it's hard to envision something going away that we have today, but that, I think that would actually give us more benefits than negatives.
Okay. I'm gonna finish mine, and then I think let's poke holes in each other's answers, because I think when you said it, Byron's face, unless he was looking at something else, kind of was like, yeah. Mine, the best one I saw, and I'm still iffy about it, but I like where they were going with this, and it might have to go a little deeper, was lack of accountability.
I just saw that one. Yeah.
I think that if used properly, that solves so many of the world's problems. It's self-accountability. It's group accountability. Am I accountable for my fellow man? So the example you were using, Razi, somebody's warring, we're accountable for each other. We're accountable for the person who might be doing the atrocities. We're accountable for the people who are suffering. Like, there's an accountability for, it's all. Razi, you didn't get to see the post, but the answer for probably the worst one is, I'm not even saying the answer for the worst one. It's, I think I understand where this person was going, and we're just joking. It's all a lot of fun. Everybody's entitled to the right answer, but there was one person that said fake white supremacy.
I said privilege.
And say again?
I said I misspoke. I said fake white privilege, but it was fake white supremacy.
And so I asked for clarity, and I guess I got schooled or something, and was apparently lost in the matrix. Yeah. But it was saying, things like not understanding how the government is moving things around, handling us, just messing our lives up. But I think the fake part was referring to white superiority more than, I think that's what it's saying. Like, it's white supremacy is fake because you're not supreme or superior.
I think so too.
I think that's what that person was trying to get at. So I think it was merging the two, saying, hey, white supremacy should be gone, and that would make the world a lot better. But at the same time, it shouldn't even be a thing, because your superiority complex is fake. We all know that, people of color have done all these great things throughout history, yada, 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 yada. But, I'm thinking that was what the person was trying to say? Byron, I don't know if you saw the response. Was that kind of where she was going with that?
I believe so. It was kind of like what you said, like they're not supreme and everything is being controlled on purpose, and it doesn't necessarily do with whiteness. I don't know. It was like a lot. But I hate when someone puts stuff out there like that, and then it's like, okay, elaborate. Oh, I shouldn't have to. You should already know. And if you don't, then you just don't get it. Oh, well, thanks for nothing.
Okay. She did explain. I still kind of, but I didn't want to go back and forth. You know,
But you know what? To be fair, let me so because the listeners may understand it better. They said they originally said fake white supremacy. We asked to elaborate. Doesn't seem like I should have to, and if you can't see it around you and grading the entire system from housing, wealth gap, and employment, it's no need to explain anything. The Matrix has you. So a couple of more people said, well, can you, I'm not familiar with that term. They said, do some research. And then finally, I think this was the most elaboration.
So she was describing systemic racism, not white supremacy. But okay, go. All right. Now I get it. Okay.
The last response was fake, meaning it's not actually real. They know, get us together in a room, and they know, we know who the alpha man on this planet at this particular time. The fake is their weapons, TV, radio, social media, propaganda to hide the fact that their masculinity is a fraud. So, like Ferg said, I think they're saying that white people aren't really supreme, and they use a lot of tools to make us think they're supreme. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So systemic racism, white privilege. Yeah. You know, all the stuff. So, but I think the fake was misused.
Yeah. Because it makes it seem like you don't think it exists.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. But I want to credit Miles Morgan for the answer that I used, who's a top fan. Shout out to him. But lack of accountability was his response. And when I saw that, I'm like, that's it. So, fellas, how do you feel about it? Y'all want to challenge each other's get rid of the world?
Well, I'll just say on the thread, one of the ones I think I would definitely want them on here to defend it. But I think the ones that made me say, were like hate. Someone said they would get rid of sin, and someone said they would get rid of guns. And so those three, I would probably offer some pushback and see exactly where those go. Hate, sin, and guns. Because hate is a human emotion. So you're getting rid of a total emotion from us.
So violence?
Get rid of violence, yeah. And like even with guns, it's like, okay, if you get rid of guns, then you have to get rid of anything that's a threat to, say, like women. You know, I think women having guns.
Get rid of women?
No. Women having guns to protect themselves is a necessity.
Yeah. Or anybody, like it equalizes, right? Like I'm a small guy.
If you get rid of guns,
that's 6'3",
you got to get rid of violence.
300-pound 17-year-old. Yeah. So, but I think I don't know if you get rid of violence, because sometimes you got to punch a motherfucker in the face. So, you know, it is one of those things that at some point,
that's a good one.
Violence, you do need to embark violence on folks. I hate to put it like that. Like, you know, the whole saying, walk softly but carry a big stick. Like, at some point, I got to put hands, you got to put paws on somebody. It just is
what about sanctioned violence? Because now you're attacking my boxing and football to an extent.
Exactly. So, you know, but I mean, without violence, how do you defend yourself? Right? Like,
would you need to defend yourself if there's no violence? If nobody else in the world was violent, what's the need to defend yourself outside of Rising, who says every once in a while, you invented violence. Everybody's walking around, girl, and all of a sudden you're like, every once in a while a nigga need to get something in the face. I don't even know the word for it. Let's call it punch. No, punch sounds better. Punch.
No, I mean, but think about, I don't know, there's no violence, but somebody's breaking in your house, stealing your like, you just gonna let them walk out? That wasn't violence. That was pilfering. They just walk in and take my TV.
But you can replace that shit, and everybody lives, and you got insurance, and life moves on. Versus,
not everybody has insurance. Not everybody can replace it.
Because if somebody breaks in my house now, I'm not worried about the TV. I'm worried about my family's safety. Let's be honest, right? Like if somebody walks in your house, you're not like, oh, this 2-foot tall person walked in my house and took my TV. You're not crying about the TV. It's the fact that Tab can't sleep at night thinking somebody might break in the house and come back and harm them. Those are the things that, you can replace the TV. And I'm saying you have to. I'm just saying.
I want my TV, though. And if people can just keep doing it over and over and over. So,
right. And they can keep doing it.
I think I'm leaning towards Rozzy, man.
like I say, we're not talking violence, but okay. Israel just goes and says, this is part of my country now.
But
and
one country
there's no violence to keep them away. Oh, wait. Now that's a part of my country, too. Like,
how do they do that? They can't do that.
Russia just they just announce it.
Yeah.
And if there's no violence to keep them away, if there's no threat of violence,
if you come in my house saying it's my, like, you can't just, you have to stay violent to stay in my house. Somebody gonna have to get violent.
No, they can just squat. If you aren't gonna get violent and put me out,
how did they get in there?
I can peacefully come and sit. I don't have to enact violence to just walk in.
Well, you just sitting there.
I walk around the neighborhood, jiggle doors until I find somebody that has their door open. I walk in and sit on their couch.
You starving and you sit down and eat a nice steak dinner and they just, oh man, thank you.
Oh, this was your pussy?
Just walk in your kitchen. Bro, man, from the 5th floor.
Get rid of rape.
I'm good with getting rid of rape.
I think
that's the answer. That's a good one.
That's the answer.
Yeah, get rid of rape.
There's never, like.
I just want to be clear. I'm not laughing at rape. I just thought about the Dave Chappelle joke.
Yeah,
and it made me laugh.
He rapes, but he saves.
He saves more than he rapes.
Yeah. So rape.
What about social media? I feel like that has a lot of holes you can poke in.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have a platform to talk to our listeners. We just hope that we wouldn't even have this question today. It's most
think about GroupMe is considered a social media, and if it wasn't for GroupMe, we probably wouldn't have this show. We wouldn't be as close as we are together. Like you even said it, right? Like so GroupMe and Ferg starting that GroupMe was the best thing that ever happened to SWAT.
Just
right?
Start a text thread
other
next
than
time.
us coming together.
Start a text thread next time.
I mean, yeah.
That's not social media.
He probably would have done it, but I'm just saying that that access to people makes a difference. I do think that it has expanded our touch to people.
I would push back against GroupMe being social media though, because you really, I guess there are ways you can access people that you don't have contact information on, but it's really just used as a chat among people you know versus social media. You make a post and anybody can comment on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can set parameters just like group. You can set parameters just like GroupMe. You know, it's the fact that if only my friends can see my posts. And, I don't make my posts shareable. I mean, there's privacies around it. It's just we want everybody to see what the hell we think and say. Social media, and I'm not a huge fan of what social media has created. It's sometimes it's not that you're not a fan of the item or the tool. You're opposed to the world is created. Like guns don't kill people, right? Like Oliver just said, we're not opposed to guns. It's the things that, and the access and how people use guns and how they manipulate that to make the world shit. It's most things aren't inherently bad, right? It's how people utilize them that, utilize them. Rising's one world order. One world order. New Rising order.
New country. What would be different from most people?
I mean, how do you govern the whole world?
How does America govern one of the largest geographic areas?
Plenty of problems with that now. I mean, our political system, our government we can't agree we can't agree what to do in a city, a state.
Yeah, if you have one, you're gonna have to have one religion. Like, I think we will eventually, one race will eventually separate. So it may not be countries, but it'll be some type of separation.
You will find a way to separate you, and somebody's going to be oppressed. So it's going to be, because there's going to be differences. And the thing about it, usually there's, and I think that's what makes America a little different than most countries, is because of diversity. And we probably have less similarities than most countries because our ethnic groups, or like our religions, like we have so many different melting points where a lot of countries, there's more people who can find common ground, and so if we became one world, I look at it,
I mean, but when you talk about one government, you understand how many things go away when you,
like what?
You talk about tariffs, right? Like import-export taxes. When you talk about transportation, when you talk about, hoarding resources, those types of things, it's way easier for us to share resources throughout the world when you have a single government that is responsible for sharing those resources throughout the world, right? So there is no, hey, Africa has to impart this tax to get it to US so you can have a global economy when you have a global government. You can't do that. And so that's so hard, right? We talk about banking and having to, this country doesn't want to give information to that country. This area doesn't want to give information to that area. You talk about different, exchange rates. So when you talk about all the different currencies that you use based on that. So if you do a single government, all of that becomes one. I don't like when you talked about like having a single religion, those types of things. I mean, the U.S. doesn't have an official religion, and when you talk about, I mean, we're a Christian,
and like a Christian country. Of our problems,
we don't have an official,
but a lot of our problems stem around conservative Christian religion.
We absolutely have an official religion.
And the thing about it is, you have people who push against, maybe I'm a Christian, but I don't believe that. And then you're ostracized, or the government tries to dictate. I see what you're saying. Like, there's certain things, maybe single economy, or I don't know, but there's always going to be the haves and have-nots. And people are going to try to find a way.
I don't think it's going to be this utopia where it's going to solve everything.
So,
but what I'm saying is if you can have that where all of that dissolves, where you're not having to worry about all the different countries, and like when you talk about trying to extradition, right? When you're talking about things like that, like non-extradition, being able to find a criminal and bring them back to wherever they did the crime. And when you talk about information sharing, right? This country doesn't have to hoard this so that, the other people don't need it or can't have it, and that type of, like, all of that kind of goes away. There's an economy of scale when you talk about governing, and you having that single government does add that economy of scale where we only have to have that one governing body. And then we can have the lower, just like we have in the States, right? You can have city level, you can have state level, you can have country level, but having a single government to sit on top of that to say, hey, here's the universal laws that we're going to go around, then I think you get a little bit more of that. truthfully, that's what the UN was supposed to be. It's just it never grew teeth, and it didn't become this kind of overarching body
because people are selfish. It can because even if it happened, it would be short lived. Somebody's going to feel underrepresented because somebody's going to take advantage of the situation, right? Somebody's going to take advantage. It might be U.S. for the next 40 years, but if Nigeria and Saudi Arabia found a way to leverage their resources, then
India starts populating more, and so now they get more votes, and so now 60% of the world population is there. So if it's a true democracy,
So I do wanted to push back though. I feel like I just want to go back to social media. It's done more harm than good. And you're right. A gun by itself doesn't do any bad, but I think that's I don't think that's a good comparison. Social media can be used for so many different. The only bad thing a gun can do is harm somebody, like kill somebody.
Yeah, just that little thing.
Yeah, it's one thing. Social media can do false information, force somebody to commit suicide, bully people. It does all these, make depression. Like statistics show that we are, as a population, more sad than we've ever been. Not as happy as we used to be. We're comparing ourselves to everything we see on there. It does so much more bad.
Oh yeah,
and it reaches way more people than a Glock 22.
Yeah.
And for yours, accountability, I think the only problem with that is who determines what's accountability. Because I may think I'm being accountable, the other person may not. So who determines what's accountability?
Yeah, and my answer is not to create a utopia.
I think with accountability, I would say, what about tribalism? If we got rid of that, I think a lot of times we don't like to admit we're wrong about something because of the tribe that we're aligning ourselves with. Like we may say, like we always see women aren't accountable because women want to stick together and be right about this. Men aren't accountable; they want to be right about this. Republicans, Democrats, like sometimes tribalism just forces you to stick your feet in the ground and not admit faults and what's wrong.
Yeah, but I think, do you think it's human nature?
Yeah, to
belong to these
that's the thing. All these things we want to get rid of is like human nature. It's gonna
it's animals travel in packs. Pack animals travel with animals of that same pack. You don't see a zebra traveling with a goddamn lion because there's a common ground of you know what I'm saying? Like it's.
I'm so silly, man. I just got the lion saying, "Man, I'm hungry." Man, I'm sure is hungry.
What was the movie? With Eddie Murphy? No, Chris Rock. The lion, the zebra, the penguins. See, all this sounds crazy.
Zootopia. Yeah.
Madagascar? Was it Madagascar?
Madagascar.
Look how crazy that looked.
Yeah.
And when they got to Africa, it was like, what the fuck going on with these people? It was like the world pulled them into, and there's your tribalism, right, Byron? It's like, we can get along because our tribe is the zoo. Right? And then you get into the real world and it's saying, hey, why are you over there messing with them zebras? Kind of like, think when you're a kid, like, well, I remember being a kid, the younger I was, racism wasn't really a thing. You liked who liked you. You got on blue shoes. He got on blue shoes. Your shoes say Mario. His shoes say Luigi. We're brothers. Like that was life. That was your tribe. Your tribe was Super Mario Brothers. Now, if Rise had on some Sonic, there's your beef, right? Like they had to start a beef somewhere. But then, life just keeps creating tribes. So tribalism, but it's just human nature. We can all agree on cancer. We agreed on cancer. We agree on rape.
Yes. Yes.
Is sickness as a whole?
I mean, are we trying to be realistic with it?
No,
like,
but that's what because people just throw out answers though. I think people don't think them through. Like, so if you said like if you could eradicate cancer, the world would be a better place. You can't tell me one good reason
to keep cancer.
Hold on.
That's like saying, you know what? I want to get rid of death altogether. Like it's just one of those things. What we
gonna do with all them pink ribbons in October, man?
So
what about poverty? Because it sounds cruel to say but if nobody is poor, then is there any bad from that?
I mean, because you think
like
about,
I think I said it at one point. There will always have to be a peasant class.
Yeah,
there has to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's
even in communist and socialist countries, there is a caste system. There's a hierarchy to those systems, right? I mean, there are jobs that have higher levels of responsibility, need higher level training, higher level thought, and they deserve to make the money that they make with what they do, right?
The argument could be made that the threat of poverty helps some people be accountable, makes them strive to, you know what I mean? I don't know.
But I mean,
I think extreme poverty. I think there should be a bare minimum that we can get everybody to.
No homelessness,
right?
Maybe no homelessness.
Yeah, like I don't think there should be somebody that just can't eat, no homelessness, even if it is, hey, we have these open bays with 200 like beds, and we feed you slop or a bare minimum food or whatever, and you can always go there and you can always eat, and every person, it's enough room for every homeless person in the city, and governments have to set up aside enough money to be able to provide.
And guess what?
However many they do.
How do those things get built? How do those people get fed?
And where you gonna build them? Because ain't nobody gonna want everybody in their neighborhood.
Well, yeah, and that's what I mean, and so you'd have to create rules around that, right? Like, hey, whenever your population hits this much, like every 100,000, you got to have 2,000 beds ready for homeless people, staff, whatever.
I get what you're saying.
You got to throw it in your taxes and all that to be able to staff it. The taxes, I mean, everybody's taxes. That's what I'm saying.
So
cities, governments have to put
you're going to increase my taxes every time we get more homeless people, and because homeless people know that they have an out and they don't have to be accountable.
I'll
that's why I say you got to give them that bare minimum.
I don't think we have to increase taxes. We got money. We find it when we need to send it to other countries. We got money.
I've said that. Yeah. I've said that. But you got to think the average people complain about take the homelessness out.
They don't want to increase taxes for their own kids in the school.
That's where I was going. So, inferior education. I think there should never be a reason that any kid who wants access to a good education shouldn't be able to get it.
We got our third one.
What's the good education though? How do you
good books, like teachers,
classroom conditions,
yeah, and they can fix that one very easily. Take it out of local property taxes, and they need to bump it up to at least the city or the state level, or it shouldn't be local taxes for it.
Because all it does is
even a federal, and throw it at a federal level. That's how every school gets funded.
But,
per pupil, yada yada yada.
We're still trying to we got people trying to get rid of the Board of Education.
Yeah, because they're idiots.
So, rape, cancer, inferior education.
Yeah.
There it is. Look at us solving stuff.
And homelessness. So we're saying we should get rid of it.
Yeah. But
kind of iffy on how we would implement it, but
do it. How do you implement it? But there shouldn't be.
I think because I think homelessness, the pushback is, does it get people out of being accountable?
If somebody, my thing is, if somebody wants to live in that condition, right? And I don't think it needs to be the best conditions, right? I literally think it needs to be a bed.
They don't starve
inside of
they got a roof over their head.
Right. That's it. No, you're not bringing in a TV in here. Y'all not putting couches in here. None of that. Y'all literally can have a bed to sleep in, roof over your head, and something to eat.
Yeah, but you know what? And the thing about it is, it's access to shelter and food does not necessarily mean homelessness goes away.
And
right?
I think the difficult part about that. Well, I guess we could pay.
Because some people are just going to choose to still be out in these streets.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to man it with some type of security. Law.
Yeah. That's a big part of it too. But it's also some people, because there's people who have access. And I'm not, I've never been homeless, and I'm not saying like I'm an expert on homelessness, but I think there's some people who have options to not be in it. I don't want to follow these rules where, like you said, I can't bring my TV in, I can't bring my dog, and I can't do this, I can't do that. I can do what the hell I want to do under this bridge. And when you move me out this bridge, I'm gonna move to the next one. Some of these people that's, I know there's some mental health, and, homeless is not nothing to joke about, and I'm not blaming anybody, but there are people who probably couldn't get out of homelessness and just have decided not to follow societal norms.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. No, definitely don't have time for my any more questions.
Yeah, no, we're done.
Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and close on out.
Clorox Sentiva smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Sentiva. Now available in Clorox Sentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Two things. Sneaker Ball's coming up, so if you guys aren't ready for that, Three Brothers will be in the house. Shout out to Contentville, powered by Inspire You on Air. Make sure y'all download the Inspire You on Air app. Check us out every Monday, 8 o'clock on the app, as well as come get ready for the Sneaker Ball in January. Come hang out with us. It's going to be a dope event. If you don't have your tickets, go get them right now. And finally, Josh Giddey has been accused of sex with a minor. And that's all we can say, obviously, because nobody else wants to report on it. And their whole thing is that they may get sued. But I wanted to at least say that part and put it out there. That, he has been accused of sexual misconduct with the minor. And Stephen A said it. He was like, look, we don't actually know what exactly happened. The kid's only 21 years old. I think that's how old he is, or that's what Stephen A threw out there. So, or when it happened, he was 21. Maybe that's what it is. And so I don't know, but whatever's happening with it, nobody's talking about it. And it is a stark difference from some other athletes when things go on. They get all this attention and nobody's worried about being sued or anything like that. But
he is 21, just to confirm. And I'll just put it out there, some of the pushback has been, the world was going ham on Ja Morant, where, he made some questionable choices and stuff like that, showed a lack of good decision-making skills. None of the things he did was supposedly harmful to others. But, this guy, accused of being with a minor, but like you said, he's 21. He just turned 21, so he was 20 3 months ago, right? So I don't know how. Well, that's still, minor is somebody's under 18. So if you're 20 dating a 17-year-old, that's still kind of,
It's not that unusual though, right? Like there are 17-year-olds that are freshmen in college right now that I know for a fact 21, 22-year-old seniors are dating.
That is true.
So
that is true.
Let's not act like it's all crazy. I think what it is that he's been accused of it versus John Morant, that we knew what had happened, right? Like there was proof. He was on video with these things. And so I think that's what the media is saying, is that all we can basically say is that he was accused of it. And until the facts come out, they can't really skewer him versus what a John Morant or something that got caught on a video or, something like that, where they know exactly what happened. I don't know about that one, but that's the argument behind it, folks.
He's white too, so that's like when you say you haven't heard much about it, it has a lot to do with the fact he's white.
Go ahead, call a spade a spade.
Yeah, we had a New York Giants kicker who beat his wife. Heard very little about that. He was white. We had a Seattle Seahawks football player who beat his black girlfriend. Finally got sentenced in that, I believe, but we heard very little about that. But what we have heard about is Warren Moon. We heard about John Morant. We heard about any other, and rightfully so. Like when anybody puts their hands on a woman, or in this case has an inappropriate relationship with a minor, should be heard about. But the coverage is a little different depending on the race at times.
Yep. So wanted to at least throw it out there, though.
Not in his defense, but trying to stay true and not have, what did Chris Rock call it?
Selective outrage? Was that something like that?
Selective outrage.
Yeah.
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Not even the benefit of the doubt. I will withhold judgment. Maybe that's what we need to say. We got to withhold judgment until more information comes out.
And depending on the state law, he may be Gucci.
Because what is it, 16 in Alabama? Like if she was 16.
Different states have different statutory ages.
Yeah, and and we don't know if it's true at all, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know the situation. It's different states have different rules. We don't know if it's true at all. We don't know what if he was 19, 20 and she said she was 18, and she was 17. We don't know the details. And just like any other case, if this was a young black athlete and they were dragging his name through the mud, I would want to say, hey, let's wait till the details come out. So, hey, let's wait till the details come out, innocent until proven guilty. As long as nobody is in danger, all we can do is wait. If he doesn't have the opportunity to commit any illegal acts, everybody's safe, let's wait. And all I ask is that we give that same grace. Because I think at one point, when we were talking about it, it was kind of like, drag them. It's more so, don't drag them. We just want to say, give everybody the same grace. Mm-hmm. If nobody's in harm, there's no, potential of any harming anybody else. Let's wait till the details. So my bad. Continue. Who's next?
That's all I got, man.
Okay, so we mentioned last week Andre 3000 dropped his all flute album, The New Blue Sun, and for the first week at least, he outsold a lot of big name rappers. Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, a lot of people that dropped that same week, he outsold them. A lot of people, like critics, are saying, well, it's going to fall. Like, people were just curious. They were just curious. So, yeah, it might go down, but still, he told you he was releasing the album. No rapping, only flutes, and he still generated that level of interest with very little advertising. I think he did like a couple of interviews and made a post, and that was it. So people love 3 Stacks.
Social media.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that's how I found out about it, right?
Yeah, it has some good. I do admit it has some good. I think that may be all because Razi mentioned the sneaker ball. So I do want to let the listeners know we're trying to put together a couple of shows. I haven't told you two yet, but I want to do a show where we have like a police officer or two on here to, because I don't want to just talk about unarmed shooters and stuff when it's popular to do it. I want to like try and, get different perspectives and just the things that they encounter and what they deal with and just any questions we come up with. So I like to do that. And I've talked to them about doing a hip hop show as well. It's just hard for us it's hard enough to get our 3 schedules aligned. And then add some guests is even more difficult. But I do want to let the listeners know we are trying to work on doing some different things for some episodes.
And I think maybe if we get some retired police officers, that might be a little easier as well, because they can be a little more forthcoming.
That's a good point.
On some of their decisions and conversations without incriminating themselves, So that works. I like those show ideas. Yeah. So coming 2024, look forward to it.
All right.
I know I got one officer that I can put on there. I think he'll be a great addition. For me, not a lot. We're getting ready for the holidays. Bought my popcorn tin. I buy it every day. The day after Thanksgiving. Have you guys put up your Christmas decorations?
Yep. Not yet. That'll be this weekend.
You if I can. My bad.
Yeah.
Christmas decorations I think they're going up this weekend as well. Popcorn tin is up. I get my cookies. I start doing holiday cookies next week. I've already started listening to my Christmas music.
Put Players Ball on there.
I will put Players Ball on there. I'll listen to that tonight. And shout out to, once again, FAMU football. This weekend we play in the SWAC championship game at home against Prairie View University. It should be a good game. I'm hoping that the results are the same as they were when we played them earlier this year. And if we win that, we will be going to the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. So I think it is going to be HBCU at its best. It will be FAMU versus Howard University. And I think the alumni will show out if those two schools make it, because FAMU is right up the street from Atlanta, and people from DC definitely make their way to Atlanta. There's a bunch of people from Howard there. I think it could be huge. So, and that will be whoever wins the Celebration Bowl. For those that don't know, it's like the HBCU championship between the MEAC and the SWAC. So hopefully FAMU can represent the SWAC. They're undefeated this year, and Howard had a less than stellar record, but they are the champs for the MEAC. And so all we can do is face whoever's put in front of us. With that being said, 3 Brothers No Sense, 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.